The name Jeffrey Epstein no doubt leaves a bad taste in the mouths of many. Once regarded as a figure of success, now he is only known for one thing: scandal. Epstein became rich through his work as a financier, and he surrounded himself with wealth and luxury, and with rich friends such as Prince Andrew, Donald Trump, and Bill Clinton. Some believed he was a billionaire, although that claim is disputed. The source of all of Epstein's money is hard to pin down. He had different careers throughout his life, including faking as being a teacher. However, he was most well known for operating his own investment banking firm, J. Epstein & Company. This is what seemed to have made him his millions. Epstein was described by someone on Wall Street in 2002 as this mysterious Gatsby-esque figure. He likes people to think that he is very rich, and he cultivates this air of aloofness. The whole thing is weird. For a while, Epstein was riding high, filthy rich and surrounded by powerful people, but then it all came crashing down. On July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested for sex trafficking offenses involving underage girls. This might not have come as a surprise to some, as he was previously convicted of sex offenses in the past. Upon his arrest in 2019, he was taken to a jail in Manhattan to await trial. However, before this trial occurred, he was found dead in his prison cell. In today's video, we're going to examine some of the arguments against the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. Ever since the incident occurred, there have been those that claim Epstein didn't cause his own death and was in fact actually murdered. Please be warned that this video contains distressing content. Subscribe to our channel for the mysteries and stay for the stories. Before Epstein died, he was known as a sex offender and even registered as one following his first arrest. He would have massages from underage girls 3 times a day, and those girls would receive a few $100s in return. The girls that were taken advantage of were typically from poor backgrounds and often suffered trauma as a result of it. Those targeted were encouraged to bring other young girls with them. They would be paid a finder's fee for doing so. The girls would also be lent out to perform the same type of services on other high-profile figures. He was finally caught on his first count of soliciting a young woman as a prostitute in 2008 in Florida, which led him to become a registered sex offender. A total of around 60 girls were identified as having been involved with Epstein, and while he was ultimately convicted in 2008, his sentence left most people outraged at how lenient it was. Epstein was originally sentenced to 18 months, but only served 13 months in total, despite the severity of his crime. There were a lot of reasons why this happened, but essentially it was Epstein and the government working against the victims. A deal was made that meant Epstein had federal immunity, and it was kept secret from his victims so they could do nothing about it. Adding to the insult, the facility that Epstein first served in could barely be classified as a punishment. He was allowed out of his cell to work and receive visitors, and in his cell he was allowed privileges such as regular access to a television. After the first sentencing, Epstein was released from prison but did not stop committing crimes. He was arrested again in 2019 and his house was raided. Amongst his belongings were found pornographic images of young girls, an expired fake passport, and over 40 diamonds. Epstein was sent back to jail to await his trial. This time his punishment was much more severe. He spent his days in a windowless cell and was allowed out for only an hour each day. However, the trial Epstein was waiting for would never occur, as he was found dead. Epstein's body was discovered in his cell unresponsive on the 10th of August 2019. It was ruled he had died by suicide after hanging himself. This happened after Epstein had already been found injured on the 24th of July in the previous month before his death. The first time, Epstein was found on the ground in the fetal position with marks on his neck. It was wondered if he was trying to commit suicide then, or perhaps he was hoping to be transferred to another facility. A third theory is that he was attacked by fellow inmate Nicholas Tartaglione, a former police officer who murdered 4 people and buried them in his yard. Nicholas and his attorney denied all claims against them, and Nicholas said that he even got along quite well with Epstein before his death. Why then would someone want people to believe that Epstein had been attacked? After the first incident, Epstein was placed on a suicide watch. However, that did not prevent his death, although at the time he died, he apparently was no longer on suicide watch anymore. He was found dead after hanging himself using a bedsheet. The criminal case against him was dismissed by a judge upon his death, which left many of his victims upset because they believe justice now cannot be done. Despite the official ruling on Epstein's death, there are a lot of people who don't believe he actually died by suicide. So many, in fact, that the internet did what the internet always does and turned it into a meme. The Epstein didn't kill himself meme is widespread now. You've no doubt heard or seen it somewhere at least once. The meme makes light of what is a serious situation in which many believe that Jeffrey Epstein was actually murdered. But who would want to murder Epstein, and why? There are a number of theories, all of which started because of the relatively strange nature of Epstein's death. According to a poll from August 2019, 42% of Americans believed that Epstein was murdered by someone in order to stop him from naming powerful individuals in his trial. Dr. Michael Baden, a former medical examiner from New York, claims that it's more likely that Epstein was strangled by someone else, rather than having hung himself. Baden was sent by Epstein's lawyers to oversee his autopsy, which was performed by Barbara Sampson, the chief medical examiner of New York City. Baden says that based on the fractures Epstein had, it was unlikely that he hung himself. Epstein also had hemorrhages in his eyes that are more likely to occur from being strangled rather than from being hung. Baden says the initial autopsy doesn't give you the answer and that it is not a typical suicidal case. Finally, Baden says that Epstein's body was too large to successfully hang himself from the bottom bunk of his bed, and that he would need to have used a stronger material that wasn't available to him, rather than a bedsheet which couldn't have supported as much weight. In relation to this, the lawyer for Epstein, Reed Weingarten, said he doubted the fact that Epstein took his own life. This was because when he last saw Epstein, the man seemed to be relatively content. Weingarten was quoted as saying, "We did not see a despairing, despondent, suicidal person." One thing that would help to support the idea Epstein was in a poor mental state before he died was the note found alongside his body. Epstein wrote that big bugs were crawling on him and he was constantly treated poorly by the guards. Interestingly, this note was written from a ballpoint pen, something that prisoners are not allowed to have with them in their cell. Epstein's brother Mark also believes it's strange that Epstein would want to die by suicide. He said it would have made sense if Epstein was convicted and was going to spend the rest of his life in prison, but because the trial hadn't actually happened yet, he wondered why his brother would want to die before attempting to clear his name. Whether the autopsy results are conclusive or not, there is the fact that on the night Epstein died, the prison he was kept in did not follow the proper safety protocols. Epstein was supposed to be checked in on by 2 guards every half an hour. Both of the guards on duty that night alleged to have fallen asleep, so neither of them checked in on Epstein for 3 hours. They then later tried to cover up what happened by putting false entries into the security records. Even stranger, the security cameras in the area that would have provided information about who was going into Epstein's cell and what was happening inside of it were apparently malfunctioning, and another camera had footage, but it couldn't be used. The Federal Bureau of Prisons sent an after-action team to the prison where Epstein died to investigate what happened. It was discovered that certain staff members weren't willing to be very open about the events that occurred. It was also discovered this was by no means the first time something bad happened at the Metropolitan Correctional Center. The prison has a history of inadequate supervision. On another occasion, they even helped a prisoner smuggle in contraband iPhones. So it's clear that the prison Epstein was in was not doing their job properly the night he died. Some people believe it was intentional, others believe it was just another mishap for a prison that made big mistakes in the past. But if what happened in the prison on the night Epstein died was intentional, and it was all designed to help whoever wanted to allegedly murder Epstein get away with the dark deed, then why? Why would someone want Epstein gone? Well, most who believe the Epstein didn't kill himself conspiracy theory think it's because of who he knew and what he knew about them. As mentioned before, Epstein had ties to many influential people. Former US President Donald Trump had this to say about Epstein in 2002. "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life." Trump then distanced himself from Epstein when the allegations about the man first came out. Trump also spread presumably false information that Epstein was killed by Bill and Hillary Clinton, whom Epstein was known to associate with. This conspiracy theory, known as the Clinton body count, claims the Clintons have killed over 50 people so far in order to silence them. There was also a Trump body count theory spreading on the internet as well, because of Trump's well-known connections with Epstein and Trump's powerful status. Then there are those who don't think Epstein even died at all. They think his death was faked, and that a body double was used to trick the public into thinking he died so he could escape from prison and live anonymously. This type of body double conspiracy theory has been used to explain the so-called deaths of other celebrities, like Avril Lavigne and Paul McCartney from the Beatles. But in this case, it's attempting to prove that someone dead is actually alive, rather than someone alive actually being dead. Immediately following his death, photos emerged online that claimed to show differences in the body of Epstein and the body taken away from the prison. However, the photos being compared weren't very accurate. A 15-year-old photo was compared against the recent photo of Epstein. It was claimed his ears were different, so therefore it was a body double, instead of the simple answer that Epstein just aged in the time between the photos. All of these theories have so far been widely debunked, but like all conspiracy theories, whether they've been proven false or not, people are still going to believe them. Some still believe Epstein was murdered, and others believe he is alive and living in New Mexico at his Zorro ranch. Despite the conspiracy theories and memes taking up a lot of focus about the case, one thing is clear. Many people still think more should be done to investigate the death of Jeffrey Epstein to determine once and for all if it really was a suicide. Prominent US politicians from both parties, among other high-ranking people from many countries including France, think there are still unanswered questions. US Democratic Senator Kristen Gillibrand said at the time, "I do think there needs to be a full investigation about why he was taken off the suicide watch list. I think it's a strange decision given that he attempted suicide once already. I want to know why he was left in a circumstance where suicide was even possible." What are your thoughts about the matter? Let us know in the comments below. If you liked this video, please hit that like button, share it, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting content just like this. For other interesting conspiracy theories, check out our videos about the Illuminati and about Area 51. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.